let's hope that happens. So the international break is here. Wanted to ask you guys. I would have asked Richard to see what he thinks about U.S. football. I personally could not care less about the national team here because I am, as it says, the Turkish one. And we got our own problems to deal with, so I couldn't care less about the U.S. national team. But Pochettino, I don't know if it's official yet, but it's simmering. John, do you? I mean, I think you follow the U.S. national team, correct?
Well, more so now, and especially since Gordon and I talked about it a few weeks ago. Like as Gordon said, like probably the best manager available for them to. So they have like kind of a interesting setup, like because it's as we keep saying, it's a competent squad, right? You just need to have the right coach with the right approach, and I feel like I'm a fan of Poch. I think he can do something there. And it's very interesting to see what he's gonna do and what he's gonna be putting in terms of his methods. The question is, are they gonna allow him the time and the freedom to implement what he wants to? So kind of interesting. Like, there's not much going on in my home country, the Philippines. Like, we don't really care about football, even though we should. So kind of just defaulted into following U.S. soccer in terms of international teams.
Any concerns do you guys have? I mean, I think in terms of a name you can get up. I mean, yeah, a major step up from Triple G, but I mean, so would Stitch and Leo be a major step up from Triple G? So maybe not as major, but it'll still be a step up. But any concerns of how club management will translate into national team management? I mean, we talked about this in the past. I personally, and I still feel, I know everybody says eventually he'll take over Germany and stuff like that. I just don't think Klopp, for example, is built for national team management. He's more of a club manager. Do you guys have any concerns, like, for example, Gordo, in terms of how his club skills will translate into national team skills? Because let's face it, there's a lot more politics usually at national teams. Like, you got to pick this guy. Oh, his dad works here, or I know his mom, and like there's a lot. Or pick so many guys from Major League Soccer because that came out in the past and stuff like that. So there's a lot of more politics involved, and you get to work less with people. What do you make of it? Yeah, Sorzi. Yeah, John is closely following the Canadian national team now as well. So, what do you say, Gordo? Any concerns in that field?
Much like United, I think the whole organization is kind of rotten and it needs an overhaul. So unfortunately, while he was the best manager available to them, it was a great pickup. I don't think he's got the foundation behind him to make any lasting impact. I think if he can do it on the field, and that's the biggest thing, is he's going to need results without the help, and he's going to need to get these kids ready for 2026 because it's big, it's on home soil. They put in a good performance there, then he can start to change heads. But unfortunately, they're still stuck in, and this is gonna, the only person that's gonna applaud this is probably Richard, but they're still stuck in the American sports mindset, right? It just doesn't work in this sport. It doesn't, and I think that until either they start graying those board members out and graying that style out and start retiring, or he makes enough of an impact that they give him more of a say and they kind of shake up the whole organization, it's just not going to work. I was telling John a couple of weeks ago when we did talk about this that he's probably the guy before the guy. He's probably the guy to set this organization up to make the radical change. But he needs the results, and he's not going to have any help to do it. So good luck to him. I hope he succeeds. But
kind of like Klinsmann do that though. At least try and put the semi foundation. Didn't get the results, so got the boot. But then it just went back to default settings. It feels like. And like I don't follow it that closely, just based on what I read from the drama and based on what Gally says. But Gally ran son kind of a thing. But and Ryan says the U.S. have no real competition until the World Cup. That will be a problem.
Yeah, and then when they went to go and have some actual competition this summer, one red card and against a winnable team, and it's knocked them out. So their chances for actually playing good competition is slim to none, which that definitely does hurt you. However, Canada is definitely moving up. They looked a lot better in that South American tournament. Mexico, yeah. Unfortunately, like Mexico isn't the team that they used to be, which was our only form of competition, and now it's basically like a win for us every time, while they are basically transitioning from very old to very young. So once that organization pops up, but we've only got the 2 years, so it's an uphill battle for sure.
So do you guys, early prediction, let's end with the predictions as always. Is he a success 2 years from now? Is he gone right after the World Cup? Because I think that would be a sign of it worked, or not? Does he make it past the World Cup and he's still like, all right? Or they're like, what the fuck? You're out.
I like Poch, so I'm gonna say yes. Like, I really hope he succeeds. Like, someone has to, like,
Somebody's gonna do it.
yeah, somebody's gonna do it, right? And if we're talking about, like, I don't know, over the last decade or so, in terms of like credentials, he's pretty much done it all in Europe. Like, obviously he hasn't won as much trophies as he's gotten, but then in terms of kind of building a team from scratch, his Tottenham days are always what I look at. Like the Kane, Dele Alli, Heung-min Son situation. Like, these are young players. These are diamonds that are the uncut diamonds that are waiting to be molded. And like I'm saying, the U.S. team isn't exactly incompetent. There are some studs there who, like, if you can, hammer them properly, they can produce something really good. So, like, I'm just trying to look at it from the hopeful perspective. But as Gordon said, it's not that simple. There's a lot of things going behind the scenes. So I'm backing him to stay, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like, after like a year or so, they go like, it's just not working out, and they just kick him out.
I mean, Ryan's has gone after the World Cup. My biggest fear for the U.S. team, personally, again, I couldn't care less, but I can see him. Let's see if he knows the drama he's going into. Because, I mean, he's been in the club world. Then again, he's been in Tottenham, so and Chelsea. So he's used to drama. But, let's see if he knows what he's getting into in terms of national management. If somebody comes in next year and says, hey, why don't you come over here, one of the top clubs, he's like, yeah, good luck with the World Cup, boys. I'm going over to Spain or something like that. I can see that as well. But, I mean, yeah, out of the names, I do like the dude. I thought he did well in Spurs. He was just getting Chelsea under control.
Exactly.
But they wanted to spend another billion. That maybe he was like, no, we're good. Stop buying people. I think I finally figured it out, kind of a thing. And then they went back to square one, and you see how they're doing. So it should be interesting. What was your prediction, Gordo, after the World Cup? You see still around?
You have to define what success is, right? Because, like, I would say into the quarterfinals, because we've already been to the round of 16, and then we get embarrassed. We get knocked out. So you got to win the game. You have to at least get to the quarterfinals. And do I think that they can do it? I'm going to have to see how he changes the team. But I think you really have to define what success for this U.S. men's national team is. And that success is not essentially success on a world stage for everyone else, right? It's not like what, England are looking for. It's not what France are looking for. Our success is going to be a lot different. So I think you have to define that first. I think if he does achieve those goals, then the sky's the limit for him and he can stay. But I know I'm with Ryan. I think that, like, he's the guy before the guy. I don't know why I feel like that, because he is a good manager, but I guess time will tell.
Yeah, it should be.